This is an intelligence report done on the Istanbul International Airport attack done on June 28th of this year. I'm just going to give some hard cold facts on what actually happened that day in Istanbul. ISIS is the presumed perpetrator of the attack, although they did not claim responsibility. They did this mainly just to posture politically in Turkey. I'll get more into that later. 44 people were killed, including 13 foreign nationals, and then 250 people were injured that day. The attackers were Akim Belgaro and Vadim Osmanov. There were actually three attackers. One of them was not identified. Both of these gentlemen had Russian passports, and early reports connect them to Dagestan, Russia. The mastermind of this operation was a Chechen warlord, Ahmed Chevi. He also had a nickname called Ahmed One Arm. The gentleman actually had one arm. It wasn't a euphemism of some kind. ISIS engaged in an elaborate, meticulous planning of this attack. One of the three shooters, when he got shot, he went down and he pretended to be dead. And when security personnel came over, then he blew himself up. This shows a certain amount of elaborate training that went into these guys' plan for the airport. They also got further into the airport than usual. Normally, a suicide bomber will just blow himself up as soon as he has contact with law enforcement or security personnel. But this time, they actually got further into the security sector. This shows a shift in paradigm. It shows that the group is learning and improvising and breaking into a more urban guerrilla warfare against civilians. Though the 7-person cell were able to stay in Istanbul for more than a month. They were able to carry weapons and explosives across from Syria all the way up to Istanbul. So that shows you there's a pipeline here between Syria and Istanbul, the northern border to Syria. They're also able to conduct surveillance and eventually carry out the attack in which I'm talking here. The Turkish intelligence agency that oversees all the intelligence inside of Turkey is the Under-Secretariat of Public Order and Security. That's who actually oversees. The specific boots on the ground intelligence work is gathered by specific Turkish police intelligence units. The incident exposed insufficiencies in state protection measures and intelligence gathering. There have been 7 other attacks believed to be executed by ISIS in Turkey preceding the attack I'm speaking of now. 146 people were killed on those 7 attacks. So I mean, the Turkish government has had some experience at dealing with ISIS brand attacks. ISIS is showing Turkey the consequences of joining the anti-ISIS coalition, which they joined in September in 2015. But they have still avoided direct confrontation with ISIS. This is how ISIS is enjoying a bit of a stay in Turkey. They are not claiming responsibility for their attacks, so it's not upsetting the people very much. But still, the attacks are sending that message. Furthermore, Turkey is yet to implement a wide-ranging legal framework to deal with ISIS, to even you know, jail ISIS members for any length of time. Even if authorities apprehend ISIS militants crossing into Turkey after joining ISIS in Syria, they're not really able to hold on to them for long. All right, getting into the U.S.'s cooperation with Syrian Kurds, which has been an enemy of the Turkish government for years. But the United States government is teaming up with Syrian Kurds along this northern border and southern border of Turkey in order to fight ISIS. Turkey is a conflicted nation. On one hand, they see the U.S. partnership with Syrian Kurds as a viable threat, and they also see an opportunistic ally with ISIS because of their mutual Kurdish enemy. On the other hand, Turkey is being violently attacked by ISIS, and in effect being manipulated by them through those attacks. Using the politics, not claiming responsibility for the attacks, and also using the Kurdish-Turkish fighting and the U.S. backing the Kurds and still wanting to have relations with Turkey. I mean, this is kind of a complicated situation. Turkey has turned a blind eye to ISIS logistical pipeline. I mean, ISIS is able to pull people, arms, explosive out of Turkey into Syria, into Iraq. They're able to pull militants out of Turkey, send them back and forth, doing attacks in Istanbul or all over the country. Turkey needs to implement some sort of sharing program between their intelligence agencies. They need to start taking intelligence a little more serious. Moving on to Turkey is strategically vital to ISIS. Like I just said earlier, there's a pipeline here for people, arms, and explosives, and probably other goods that ISIS needs as a group to survive. ISIS sees Turkey as a tactical must-have along with a geographical. And if you look at this, ISIS wants to create a caliphate. So down here they have their somewhat caliphate, but Turkey will connect them to Russia. I mean, Georgia is up here, and this goes on to Europe over here. So I mean, this would be like kind of the crown jewel of ISIS if they're able to maintain control like they do down in Syria and Iraq. Turkey faces strong pressures to deepen cooperation with the U.S. in order to secure protection from Russia. Okay, Russia has provoked Turkey ever since Russia entered the Syrian civil war in September 2015. The numerous airspace violation and a deployment of an advanced surface-to-air missile system near the Syrian border here. Russia wishes to destabilize Turkey in order to weaken NATO's south flank. How about Turkish's failed coup and ongoing governmental response? Gathered intelligence and Turkish officials claim that Fethullah Gulen is responsible for the failed coup. The situation has fueled much conspiracy theories among Turkish media and have had an effect on public opinion to bring about an anti-American sentiment. the tradition of Golan, or the extradition of tradition, or of Golan rather, has been called for by Turkish officials, but the U.S. has failed to return him to Turkey. This has really caused some bilateral damage to the relations between the two countries. Enhanced intelligence gathering would affect Turkey's ability to predict and give sufficient warnings to the attacks forthcoming. Counterintelligence measures would throw enemy attackers off their original course, and the formation of counterintelligence hypotheses would allow Turkey's intelligence units to seep more deeply into ISIS operational frameworks within Turkey. I would also say the lack of laws to hold ISIS accountable and the cooperation between the Kurds and the U.S. Is precisely where ISIS holds its political footing in Turkey. These rough edges of international relations between Turkey and the U.S. are what are being exploited in Turkey by ISIS. The future directive of this intelligence report is finding more out about the Kurds and how to make the coalition work with Turkey and the Kurds on one side, the side of fighting ISIS, and how to convince Turkey to take a more gloves-off approach when dealing with ISIS, and mandate some tough laws in regards to dealing with ISIS. Thank you.